everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast. Pags is on assignment today, so we got Stat Guy in the house. We got Wen in the chat. How's it going, Wen? And we started the day off with baseball. The Cubbies drop another game, though.
They do. 6-3. No surprise. It's the Dodgers. I was more so disappointed with how Roki Sasaki looked because, he's been hyped up as the top baseball prospect. He was hyped up as like the top off-season acquisition, and he went 3 innings, which no one expected him to go that deep because this is still considered spring training time frame. But he walked 6 and struck out 3, which definitely not typical Sasaki. But the first 5 pitches of the game were all 100+. So he does have that in his back pocket when he needs it.
Okay, so he's got some speed, just no command.
Normally he does have command. Like this was like the first time even going back to Japan, this was the first time he's ever walked more than 3 in a start.
Okay, all right.
So a lot of people think he was just overamped to be back in Japan.
Rick Vaughn, here we go. Just a bit outside. Oh, we got Philly in the house. Wasn't sure you were going to be here.
Hold on, guys.
It seems abnormally quiet over there.
Right?
Like, I'm kind of terrified why it's so
quiet. Now you can hear me.
Oh, there we go. That makes more sense. Perfect. I was like, how is it so quiet?
So I got dugout tickets today.
Sweet.
Right now it's Phillies versus Yankees. The Yankees are doing bad in practice, but I happen to be down here literally, so I can walk over here. I'm going to show you guys. This is the Phillies dugout today.
Nice.
So literally, I am a VIP today. How about that?
Very cool. Very cool. So when
how are you guys doing?
Good. Doing good. So when's game time?
1 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
So I'm only going to probably be able to stick around here for a little bit before people start to say, hey, you need to take pictures here and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an hour out, so that means it's going to start filling in pretty quick.
Yeah, it's actually got a halfway decent crowd now, but it's the Yankees, so I kind of expect it to be sold out here. Whole 12,000 people.
Right on.
And I will tell you that yesterday's show has left its mark on me. I am sunburned very badly.
Yeah, no, that's funny because that popped up in the comments a lot.
Yeah, I was. I actually, you can't tell right now, obviously, but you can see the marks from the glasses, and my head was actually leaking.
Oh.
Like there wasn't any blisters, but it was, leaking or whatever it is.
The red part isn't actually paint. That's the one spot.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost some. I mean, my neck is pretty bad.
Yeah. You got scorched a bit.
Yeah, it was a tough one. I'm going to try to do pictures and do my podcast. How are you? Good. Yourself.
I'll see if I can get it.
All right, it'll be easier if I do it. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no worries. And this segment brought to you by Banana
very much.
Boat. Exactly. Sure.
Nice to meet you.
I'm going to just mute me for a minute.
Yeah, I got you. There we go.
Hey, another news, the Vikings are bringing in Tyler Lockett for a workout today.
Okay. I mean,
I like that.
Like every team could use a possession guy, right? So, and Lockett can absolutely still be that guy.
I like that.
You know what makes me laugh? That today the big news was the Vikings are not interested in Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Like, is that news?
That's exactly the stance.
Well,
I was just like, I didn't think there was a real shot of him going there, but apparently Stat Guy.
Kevin O'Connell did say they had initial contract discussions with Aaron Rodgers, and they started to discuss the dollar figures. But obviously, with Aaron Rodgers wanting $33 million a year, they're not going to give him that. And the number that Minnesota was willing to go to bring him in, Rodgers wasn't going to go that low. So O'Connell's like, we're committing to JJ McCarthy. Our goal now is to find him a veteran backup that can teach him and fill in if we need him to.
Well, okay, but I still am like, I don't see that being news. Like, and it was all over ESPN and NFL Network, and like Craig Carton, who I think is a complete ass, was talking about it, and I'm like, and I was sitting there with Hollis Thomas, and he's like, this is not news. Nobody cares. Yeah, that. And then we started talking about Aaron Rodgers himself. Like, if Aaron Rodgers was a better guy, like if he was able to be friendlier to some of the people that he deals with, that it could be a better situation all the way around.
Yeah,
well, he would have more teams interested. Like, if he didn't have all the off the field stuff, even with the noticeable decline in his production, there's plenty of teams that would still be interested. But because he has all of the crazy and very little of the upside anymore, I'm surprised that anybody is really waiting for it.
Well, and what are you getting? I mean, you're getting a 42-year-old guy. Like, listen, he is not Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And let's just call that spade a spade. He's not Tom Brady.
Well, he doesn't have the dedication to the craft. Like, Tom Brady lived and breathed football. He did everything possible to be that guy. Rodgers is like, yeah, I'm going to show up when I want to show up.
Right. And so it's just, I feel like there's a piece of me that believes that Aaron Rodgers will wind up on a team. Whoever winds up having the quarterback get hurt.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
He may not actually be on a team until the second week of training.
Yeah. The only thing I think is definitely a false narrative is the people that are like, oh, he's just going to retire. I really don't think he will. He may not be on the roster like you said and waiting for somebody to get hurt, but I don't think he's actually going to announce his retirement.
No. Like I said, and this is probably the second year of his 2 years past where he should be playing. And my thought is that he'll probably play a third year past where he should be playing.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I would bet that he is going to want to be. Let me see real quick. He's probably going to end up being more of he's going to stick around to be the same age as Brady, right? Like he's going to do that. I think his ego will make that happen, even though he probably shouldn't be playing, at least based on what we watched, because again, when people are like, oh yeah, his numbers towards the end of the year were fine. They were garbage time numbers against kind of garbage teams. The games didn't matter. I mean, I don't know. I don't put a lot of stock in that.
Yeah.
Well, and Brady was 42, right? He played to 42.
44.
Yeah, when he came back, he was 43, 44. So there's a chance that he sticks around for a couple of years. I don't know that he necessarily ends up on a roster. He might be that tracker guy that you call off the couch, which is the right amount of practice for what he likes to do anyway.
Right. I can't wait till it's no longer a story anymore. Because this is a non-story to me as far as I'm concerned.
It's gonna be a story until he signs with somebody because Aaron Rodgers will do what he needs to do to make it a story. Even if the NFL doesn't want to make it a story, he'll come out with some stupid comment a month from now saying, I'm very close to signing with this team or I'm very close to signing with that team. He'll do what he needs to do to keep it a story as long as possible. Yeah, I mean, he has that attention-seeking action to him. But it's also a story because there's not a lot going on. You're in between the main piece of free agency, and we're not to the pro days yet. We're not to
the draft. So there's always this window where there's not a lot of NFL going on. So stupid stories like this that shouldn't be anything, because it's like, oh, great, he signed. Cool. You got a mid-level guy at this point.
Right.
Who cares? So, yeah, I mean, it's only a story because there's nothing going on. Oops. Sorry. I tried to do it.
Third time's the charm.
There we go.
There we go.
We're hitting it at the same time.
So yeah, but that makes me think. If you want to stay relevant, just go on Pat McAfee. Sign on with Pat McAfee. Be on his show. You're already like his like go-to bitch. Be the go-to bitch some more.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I think that's makes the most amount of sense to me. Or open up an ayahuasca store. Like, let's just call that other space.
Do
You
you
know what I
think he
mean?
doesn't have one already? You have to assume he does, right?
I don't assume anything with him. I mean, he should be. I mean, if I was him, I'd be down in Costa Rica. I think I wouldn't even be worried. You're 42 years old. You're going to think you're going to get another Super Bowl ring now? Like you saw what the Eagles were able to do. You saw what Kansas City's been able to do. You have not been able to do those things for a long time. You know, it's like,
and even when he was still playing his best, it was an NFC Championship flameouts anyway, right? Like that was the NFC Championship game was the Green Bay Invitational. Everybody, whoever went to that game went to the Super Bowl.
Or whenever the Packers played the 49ers, he flamed out too.
Yeah, true. Hey.
Did you guys see the new rules proposals that the NFL has now brought to the table for possible rule changes for next year?
Different ones than the ones we covered before, or?
So there's 3 rule proposals that have been brought to the NFL that are going to be basically being discussed.
Okay.
So the Detroit Lions would like to amend Rule 8, Section 4.
Okay.
They are proposing to eliminate an automatic first down as a penalty imposed by defensive holding and illegal contact and just make it a straight 5-yard penalty. So if it's second down and 10, you commit illegal contact or holding, it goes to second down and 5. It's just a replay of the down as opposed to the automatic first down.
I like that. I wouldn't mind that not being an automatic first down, because then, some of these rules ultimately have to favor a defense finally.
I agree with that.
And then Green Bay Packers wants to amend Rule 12, Section 1. They want to prohibit the tush push.
Yeah, so we talked about that before. That's just idiotic. Like, learn how to play defense.
It might be idiotic, but it has actually gone through and actually has multiple sections attached to that rule, as in why they want to ban the tush push. Section A, they do not feel that anybody should be pulling a runner in any direction at any time from behind the line of scrimmage if you're an offensive player. Section B, use interlocking interference by grasping a teammate or using his hands or arms or entire body to elevate them forward behind the play of attack. And then immediately.
So that part of it, it's fine. They don't want interlocking arms. That's why they got rid of the wedge. So like that part of it, sure. But getting rid of it as a play is just stupid. Plus, if you're getting rid of their ability to push, that basically means you can't help your running back get extra yards downfield either. Now, the pulling, I don't even know why they cited that, because you already can't do that. You're not allowed to pull a player forward anywhere on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So part of what it is they're proposing doesn't make any sense. And exactly, it's a QB sneak. Like, just get better at it. And the thing is if you don't like the play, don't give them 3rd and 1. Like, play better defense on 1st and 2nd down.
The Philadelphia Eagles are also proposing a rule change for Rule 16, Section 1. They want to align the postseason and regular season overtime rules by granting both teams an opportunity to possess the ball regardless of the outcome on the first possession. And the Eagles want to extend the overtime period from 10 minutes to 15 minutes. in the
Yeah, so
regular
we talked about that before, and they should absolutely do that because one, if you're going to allow someone to be able to go down and score, you need it to be a full length quarter because this is basically the Kansas City rule because they took an overtime basically down to the last minute to go and score. So yeah, you got the ball back, but because the quarter was 10 minutes instead of 15, you really didn't have any time left to go answer that score. So this way, basically all of these overtime rules are to directly combat Kansas City. But at the same time, I'm fine with it. Like if you're going to let everybody have the ball, then it needs to be a full length quarter because drives can take 7, 8, 10 minutes.
Agreed. I like that. I don't mind that rule change. I'm surprised nobody has put in. Is there any more that you're
Yep,
having?
the one more is the big one.
Okay.
And it also came from the Detroit Lions. The Lions have officially proposed a new postseason format that will allow wild card teams to be seeded higher than divisional champions if the wild card team has a better season record.
I don't like that.
And they think that of all the rules, this should be the one that goes through.
Yeah, so the thing is, if you win your division, I like that you get that home game, even if you're terrible, right? If you're a wild card, you're a wild card. It is what it is. If you wanted a home game, win your division.
They feel
And realistically, now there's more of an opportunity for wild card teams to hold a home game.
because they were basically
Now.
saying that last year all three wild card teams would have had a home game every time they.
Sure, but the thing is if you have if you win after the first round, that's it. Then it's your record. So you already get to do that. It's just the wild card round. And if you wanted a home game in the wild card round, win your division. Simple as that. After that, it goes to the record anyway. So like you can be a wild card on the road and then have home games the rest of the way if you have a great record.
Yeah. They out of all those rules, they think this one will be the one that goes through.
Yeah. I don't love that rule.
I don't think so either. I think that doesn't happen. I don't think any rule goes through like that. I think it's too much. You're taking away. I mean, it's possible that two wild card teams would be able to go above, like in that case, Minnesota would have been better than.
Minnesota would have been the 3 seed.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah. No, I'm not a fan of that. Of the rules, the one that should go through is the overtime rule. Like that one is definitely going to go through.
And the automatic first down on the illegal contact and defensive holding.
I like that one. I don't know that they actually make that change, but if it did change, I'm with it. The other two, I don't see either one of those going through.
And then the Steelers also didn't necessarily propose a rule change. They just proposed an amendment to a current rule. The Steelers want to allow teams to have direct contact with free agents and to set up travel during the negotiating window. As it stands right now, you cannot speak with teams until the new year begins. The Steelers basically want to propose a rule change where you can start speaking with players as soon as the Super Bowl ends.
I mean, that's the difference of like a week, right? So I mean,
it's about a month and a half because if the Super Bowl is played.
I mean,
February
official 8th. Tampering, yeah, but people start talking to him right after.
They just want to do away with the tampering period and basically be like the Super Bowl ends on Sunday, February 8th, Monday, February 9th. If you want to call free agents and bring them in, you can do it. You just can't make the deal an official deal until the NFL New Year starts on March 12th.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. They're talking anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really having that delay, I get it. They're trying to wait for the end of the league year. Sure, whatever. But at the end of the day, it feels more like just the opportunity for the NFL to levy fines and get some of their money back. Because, I mean, all of these guys, they talk to everybody. They've been doing it forever. So It's not like, oh, it's a new thing. I mean, soon as the team is done, like sometimes it's before the Super Bowl, but they're out of the playoffs already. People make those phone calls. They run into them random places. I mean, so yeah, just get rid of it. Like it doesn't matter. Tiger, I didn't hear this, but I'm curious. Send me the Send me the link to that on Twitter if you would, because I'd be interested to read that. I didn't see it.
Is he talking for football, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason for it. I saw that even a couple months ago already. Because
Yeah, I just didn't see it. So
because with what you call like the super conferences now, how the SEC is 16 teams, the ACC is 16 teams.
Yep. Yeah, Big Ten is 18 teams.
Yeah, the Big Ten and the SEC especially are pushing for basically just a straight conference schedule. You just play a 13-game conference schedule. You do away with the non-conference games just because you look at the SEC. Alabama plays 2 cupcake schools every year on the non-conference schedule.
Yeah, of course.
They'll play an FCS program to open the season just because they want to kick the crap out of them like a preseason game.
Mm-hmm.
They'll play like a mid-major team like a Middle Tennessee as the second game of the year, just the same thing. And then they might schedule a tougher opponent later in the season as they're like last year they played Wisconsin, which wasn't a tough opponent, but like at least they scheduled like a bigger FBS program for their third non-conference game versus like the Big Ten, like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Washington. They always schedule like 3 difficult non-conference games back to back to back. So they just basically said, since these are the 2 main conferences that are going to get more teams in the college football playoffs anyways, do away with the easy non-conference schedules. Just do a straight 13-game conference season between the SEC and the Big Ten and the ACC.
No, I mean, so I don't love that. And some of that is because, the Pac-12 goes away, right? So now my Huskies, part of the Big Ten. Great. Except Wazoo's not. And so the Apple Cup, our in-state rivalry game, ultimately is going to go away. They basically signed 3 years of, hey, you're still going to have it. Yep. Although it's not the last game of the season anymore. It's kind of mid-season now, but you at least still get to play it. So if you're going to do that, that means we don't get that rivalry game at all anymore. I understand that the landscape of college football is basically going pro anyway, and we're going to end up with 2 super conferences. So maybe it ultimately works out. But if you like the tradition of some of these, unfortunately, college football is just moving away from it. I don't love it, but it's just the direction it's headed.
I could see a scenario too where they go away from the 3 non-conference games and just do 1. So then in like Washington's case, their non-conference game would be Washington State every year to keep that rivalry going. When it comes to Clemson, their non-conference game could be South Carolina to keep that non-conference rivalry going. Florida and Florida State could be like that non-conference game to keep that rivalry going. And then the other 11 games would just be through your conference.
All right, well, since you guys are talking about this crap, as far as I'm concerned, because blah, blah, blah with college, we're talking about pro. We're talking about rules that with pros, and I didn't even get a chance to add the one rule that I wanted to add. Well, it's too late now because we're already past it. So I'm going to let you guys go, and I'm going to go. Well, no, I was talking about the rule about the quarterbacks turning and the 15-yard penalty on they're going to go out of bounds. They're not going to go out of bounds. That rule. I'm surprised that no team has actually put it up there. And the reason why they probably haven't is because they haven't quite figured out how to word it yet.
Yeah.
So that's probably part of the problem. But
and I think
I'm going to let you be.
Well, that one needs to be a thing.
And I think the other reason why I don't think they brought that to the table yet, because I think it also has to do with the sliding. Because if you're going to amend that part of it, where if a guy's about to go out of bounds and then fakes it and goes out of bounds and then gets hit, you also have those quarterbacks that either do a late slide and still get hit, or they kind of do like a half-ass slide where it's not a full slide, but they still show that they're going to slide and get hit, and it's a 15-yard penalty. I think if they're going to amend the one that Pags was talking about on the sidelines.
So it's actually all supposed to be together.
Yeah, that's why I don't.
Every version of it that I've heard has been they're going to look at going out of bounds and the timing of slides.
That's why I think it hasn't been brought to the table yet, because that one I think is going to be a lot more complex because you're going to have a lot more that goes into it.
Yeah.
Understood. In the meantime, guys, I'm going to let you guys go and talk about college football all you want, because I could care less about any of that. I'm going to go walk around and take pictures and stuff.
Sounds like a plan, man. Have a good day out there.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So anyway, Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like all of these rivalries that you've grown up with and have been there forever, like a lot of them are going to go away. It's just the direction that college football is headed. I mean, you are probably 10 years away from there being 2 super conferences.
I think it's less than that. I think it's 5.
So
the big thing is Notre Dame, because Notre Dame's
going to be money. So what's going to make it take longer is money.
That's true, but then you have to look at Notre Dame's situation too. Notre Dame is going to be within 2 or 3 years of not having a schedule.
So they'll get forced to join one. I mean, because the rest of their school is in one anyway. It's only football that they're not part of a conference.
Well, that's the thing, though. What conference would they join? Because you look at basketball and baseball.
There's only going to be 2. That's my point.
If they were
going to grow to the point that it's going to be 2 major conferences.
Yeah.
It's going to have divisions within it. And I mean, it's pro football.
Yeah.
Like amateurism's dead. This is pro football.
You look at the way it sits now, though. If they force Notre Dame to join a conference before they got to that point, you have to wonder if Notre Dame would go to the ACC, which is where basketball and baseball is.
Exactly.
Or if they would go to the Big Ten, which is where soccer, hockey, and lacrosse are. Because theoretically, from a geographical standpoint, the Big Ten's a better fit because they're right there by Michigan State, Michigan, Purdue, Indiana, Northwestern, Illinois, Ohio State. They're right there versus the ACC. Louisville's the closest school to Notre Dame in the ACC, and then the Virginias, but everybody else in the ACC is way out based on Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, they would probably be a better fit to the the Big Ten is probably going to be the first super conference, because if the Pac-12 does finally fold up, because they're not pulling the trigger on the TV contract that's on the deal on the table now, and I mean, if they don't sign this one, they're going to run out of time, because they only had 2 years of grace period to get their conference figured out, and if they don't get their TV contract right, they're not going to have the money that they need. And the contract that's on the table for them now that they don't want is $10 million a year less than the one that had their conference fall apart to begin with. Yeah. So they're not really in a favorable spot, which makes me think those 2 teams ultimately go to the Big Ten, because then you get to keep your rivalries again. You have Oregon State, Washington State, rounds out that conference to an even 20. If you're Notre Dame, you find one other school, it jumps it up to 22. You start looking at
the other scenario could be the other scenario too, if you wanted to keep it at that 20, put Notre Dame in the Big Ten, move Maryland to the ACC where they came from.
Well, I don't think you do that though, because if you round out the 20 with the rest of the Pac-12, and then you go and you add Notre Dame, then 21. Yeah, that's 21. So then you go and add 5 more schools, which you should be able to find. And now all of a sudden you can have 2 divisions of 13. You can have conference play.
You could add Iowa State, Kansas State, Kansas, Missouri.
Sure.
And then somebody at Louisville.
Probably snag Boise State.
Or Louisville, because Louisville's kind of on that outside looking in on the ACC because of the geographic landscape.
Yeah, but so you end up with 26. You have a 13-game schedule. You have 2 divisions of 13. You could make that work, and then you have your conference winner and a couple of the best teams from it all go to the college playoff. I mean, ultimately, that's kind of the direction this is all headed anyway.
Yeah,
I don't know why they don't just get this thing rolling, because I mean, why not at this point?
Right.
So. Yeah, I don't know. But if you want to bet on what it is they're doing, if you think it's going to be a super conference, you could probably bet on that. I don't know. I haven't seen that prop bet yet, but I bet it's there. If you use the QR code on the screen, up to 125% of your first 3 deposits, 10% bet guarantee, which you may not have to use. If that's not a prop bet, you can actually bet on. If you are here in the Pacific Northwest, you can use this QR code right here. True Fusion Gym, any of the 3 locations, Bellevue, Ballard, University Village, Pilates Boot Camp, yoga, bar, hot rooms, and more. Find your edge. True Fusion Gym. All right. Seemed like a good time to do it.
Yeah.
So Cam Ward at the Sugar Bowl wins the Manning Award, and in his presser says he would love to be a Saint at some point.
Okay.
I mean, they're picking ninth. They could, in theory, move up and go get this guy. They don't necessarily love Carr anyway.
What was your answer? Trade Derek Carr to somebody and move
Right.
up to go get Cam Ward.
I mean, Cam Ward wants to be there. He's the number one prospect for this year. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. That would be interesting. Thanks for sending that to me. How's it going, Chad? So, yeah, I mean, it's Cam Ward to the Saints would be interesting. Like, that would be like, it's not a great team, right?
I think it's a better fit for Kellen Moore, though, than Derek Carr.
Okay. I mean, I get that. Well, not just that, but I guess you have, because Carr's contract is 2 more years or just one?
I think it's one with an option.
Okay. You know, and you're giving the reins to the Saints, to Kellen Moore. You're obviously playing the long game because this particular year you don't have any money.
No.
So like this year's going to be terrible anyway. So in theory, if you were to trade Carr and move up, grab Cam Ward, who, you know, again, in his press conference, say he would love to be there. Yeah, like that wouldn't be bad. And Chad, I agree. Derek Carr with the Steelers actually wouldn't be terrible.
But if you're going to make that move, you would essentially have to trade him to number 2. Cleveland's picking 2 because if you trade him to the Giants at 3, there's a chance that Cleveland takes Ward at 2. So you would most likely have to get to number 2 or even number 1 at that point. If you
I think you'd have to be number 1 because you have to think the Titans would go after Ward.
I think they're going after Travis Hunter. I really think the Titans are going after Travis Hunter.
I mean, so you're in on Levis still.
I think they're in on Levis one more year. I think they go and get Travis Hunter this year.
Okay.
Ride it out with Levis this year just because they know they don't have much around Levis. Like, even if they got a rookie quarterback this year, they don't have a lot of weapons on offense. So regardless if you start Levis or a rookie, your results are probably going to be the same. And then you wait till next year's free agent class to see who's out there in free agency. You wait until the draft to see who comes out for quarterbacks because Archie Manning will be coming out next year, where if you're picking number 1 or number 2, chances are you're going after Archie Manning, number 1 or number 2 in that quarterback spot. Or depending on how teams do, if there's a trade that you feel that you can make, we'll just throw Justin Herbert out there, for example. Let's just say Justin Herbert or something got put on the trade market next offseason because Jim Harbaugh wants to go in a different direction. Well, then Tennessee's in a position where they could add Justin Herbert next year. I think they honestly take Travis Hunter this year just because they need more on offense. You could put Travis Hunter as a wide receiver if you wanted to. You could put him in the secondary if you wanted to, depending on what you feel his best path to the future success is.
I mean, I'm drafting him as a corner, right? Like, there's just not enough lockdown corners.
No, exactly. I would be too, but knowing that Tennessee's short on offensive weapons, I could see them making him a wide receiver just because they don't have a lot of offensive weapons right now.
Well, I think no matter where he goes, he's going to have offensive packages.
Yeah.
Right?
So, I mean, that's ultimately why I think they ride it out with Levis this year, because you have to look at what they have on that offense in terms of weapons. Regardless if you take a rookie quarterback or not, that rookie quarterback's not going to be set up for success next year. So why not just ride it out with Will Levis one more year? If you suck, you get another good pick in next year's draft and you just retool it that way.
No, I mean, I don't hate that.
Cleveland's looking for a quarterback anyways because of the Deshaun Watson situation. And if Derek Carr only has that 1 year left, you trade him to Cleveland for that 1 year. Cleveland gets their quarterback in Derek Carr. The Saints go to number 2. They draft Cam Ward at number 2. And then if the Giants want a quarterback at 3, you got Shedeur Sanders at 3.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't mind that at all. Yeah, if they were to go Hunter at 1 and you could get the second pick, I mean, that'd be sending Carr to the Browns though instead of the Steelers. But
yeah, you wouldn't be able to get Cam Ward if you're trading Carr to the Steelers, because the Steelers are picking around 20th. The only way you do it, yeah.
Well, that would be one of those 3-team trades,
Yeah.
right? Like it would require something from the Raiders to Cleveland. Like it's one of those, it'd have to be a carousel of
You
trades.
could, if you wanted to really get tricky with that one, then you could do trading Derek Carr to Pittsburgh.
Sure.
Cleveland trades Nick Chubb to somewhere, and then that's how the Saints would get into that number 2.
Yeah, I don't know. It would take some front office gymnastics to make that work, but I mean, it's possible. We've seen teams do some crazier stuff, but all that being said, if you take the logistics out of it, I do kind of like Carr to the Steelers. I think he could add exactly what they need because he can still throw it. He can still throw a deep ball, but they have tight ends that he can hit.
And he's not going to be a headache. He's not going to be a headache like Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be a headache like Russell Wilson. Mason Rudolph is not really a headache because he doesn't have a ton of starter experience, but like he's a guy that has had success as a starter, but he doesn't come with all the baggage.
Yeah, I mean, Carr wants to play football. Like that's Carr. Like, did he get hurt there? Sure. Did they not really have a team that was great? I mean, they had some pieces that looked good, but they had coaching that was terrible.
Yeah, and you look at what he did with the Raiders. Like he made the playoffs only that one time with the Raiders. But
that wasn't on him though.
No, but it's not like he didn't have a ton of success with the Raiders. Like he had good seasons basically every single year with the Raiders. It wasn't his fault.
They had a bottom 5 defense every year he played there.
He was throwing 32 plus touchdowns every year and around 10 or 11 picks every year. It's not like he lost the games for the team. Like he did his part to get him in the playoffs. They just didn't do their part on the other end.
Yeah, I mean, I always laugh with the amount of hate that Carr gets because he's actually a solid quarterback. Like if he ever had a defense, most people would consider him a top 10.
Mm-hmm. And I even
look at his numbers, he is.
I considered him a top 10 quarterback 2 years ago before he went to the Saints. His last year with the Raiders when they made the playoffs, I think I had him ranked 9th among quarterbacks in the NFL because that was the year that he had like 34 touchdowns, I think, and like 11 picks.
Yeah.
And like most of his career, I've always kind of put him in that 12 to 13 range
which is still fine.
Which he had a couple more good games, he's in the top 10. But if he had a couple more bad games,
like even if his numbers were the same, if they just had a couple more wins, like their defense did their job, similar to Joe Burrow this year, he doesn't win the MVP. But if that's a 13-win team, he wins the MVP hands down. Yep. Like we're not even having this conversation.
I don't even think he had to win 13 games, honestly. I think if he would have gotten Cincinnati into the playoffs, Joe Burrow wins the MVP. I really do.
No, they would have had to have. They would have had to have at least 11 or 12 wins, and only because Lamar had a better year than his MVP last year.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen, they really wanted to give him the legacy award MVP, right? So, like, there were two very real hurdles. It's not like it was a weak class. So he would have had to have 11 or 12 wins at least to be able to overcome those other guys. But again, he wouldn't have done anything different. It's just team wins does play a factor.
And the thing too with Derek Carr, like his best year, he had Henry Ruggs as a deep ball threat. He had Hunter Renfrow as his possession third down receiver. He had Darren Waller, who was a freak of a tight end with the Raiders before he went to the Giants and got hurt. Like he was one of the best tight ends in the league.
Sure.
You send him to Pittsburgh, you have 2 deep ball threats in George Pickens and DK Metcalf. You have Pat Freiermuth, who is a tight end, but he's ultimately your third down and possession wide receiver because that's usually when he gets the ball anyways. And then you can do something at a wide receiver in the draft if you want to. They don't have Najee Harris anymore, so there was already rumors that Pittsburgh was looking at Nick Chubb. You could go and sign Nick Chubb, which would essentially be the Josh Jacobs that he had with the Raiders, and you could kind of
so Chubb signed somewhere.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he go back to Cleveland?
No.
I didn't even get an alert that he signed.
I thought I saw it pop across yesterday. Chubb signing with the Broncos.
Seriously?
That's what the indications show. I don't know if it's official.
Well,
But-
this said 5 days ago that the Browns are getting close to getting Chubb back.
18 hours ago, Nick Chubb signing with Denver Broncos. But again, I don't see
No.
anything that's official saying it came through yet. But
Well, that's good for Denver.
no, it'd be great for Denver.
Yeah, well, if he doesn't end up signing with Denver, like Chubb to the Steelers was a rumor heading into the tampering period. So let's just say the Steelers would find a way to get a guy like Nick Chubb, and now you have to look at it with Najee Harris being in with the Chargers.
Yep.
Maybe the Steelers try to get J.K. Dobbins, and then you ultimately give Derek Carr like another Josh Jacobs, which he had in Oakland when he was at his best. He had those weapons on the outside. He had a possession receiver, and he had a reliable running back.
No, I mean, again, like that could absolutely work. I don't think the logistics actually get him there, but if none of that mattered and you could just place him there, I actually like that.
And he's what, 33, going on 34. Where you look
Yeah,
at
something like that.
what he's making this year. I think he's making 45 million-ish, 46. Where you could essentially
Is
just
it?
give.
I thought it was like right at 40.
Maybe it is 40, but even then, you could essentially bring him in. You could sign him to like a 1 year, $15 million extension right away on top of what he has now. And essentially now you got him locked up 2 years at $55 million, which is a freaking bargain for when you look at the production he has.
Oh, no question. No question. No, I mean, I like that. And again, I don't know what his contract exactly looks like. Maybe he has a no trade. I have no idea. I haven't looked at his trade contract or, his, that part of his contract, I should say. So, I don't know, but that could be a good fit. I think he would be able to run that offense well. Certainly better than the menagerie of.
He does have a no trade clause.
I don't see how he wouldn't want to do that, though.
Yeah, he's got 2 years. He's got 2 years left. So he signed a 4-year, $150 million contract in 2023. So he's got 2 years left.
That's what I thought. I thought
no trade clause. They did just restructure his contract a couple weeks ago to free up some cap space.
Sure. Yeah, so he got a signing bonus. Like that doesn't matter.
So his cap hit in 2025 is $51 million.
Yeah, that's his cap hit, but what's his actual money?
Well, the dead cap is $50 million.
Yeah, but he's not making $50 million.
No, he's getting the signing bonus is $28.5 million. 37.5 million is what he's or 30.9 million is what he's making this year.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought it was going to be close to 40. So they move it into a signing bonus. They stretch that over the next 2 years to lower the cap hit. Like that's fine. Like that's normal front office manipulation of the cap. Like that's fine. But I think if that trade proposal were to come through, I'd be surprised if Carr said no. Right. If they're like, look, you're going to end up being a backup if we're moving in to go get this guy.
Right.
Do you want to start somewhere or do you want to sit? I would imagine Carr would be like, you know what? You guys are paying me either way.
So you can trade
me go win.
Right. You can trade me to Pittsburgh. And if they want to give me an extension, you're paying me plus they're paying me. So, hey, why not?
I mean, they only win 9 games every year with nobody at quarterback. I would bet if you have Carr,
you win 11. 12, maybe.
I mean, right?
I mean, Carr would have a defense for the first time in his life.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that defense won 5 games last year on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that would be interesting. Chad, I think you're onto something. You should give the Steelers a call and tell them to, figure it out.
Figure it out so the Saints can get their guy, Cam Ward.
I mean, I don't know. Like that'd be interesting, and I can't imagine that Saints fans would be mad at that either.
I can't either.
Like in that scenario, if you had a 3-way round robin trade, the only team that may not love that would be the Browns.
And the thing is, too, for a team that is that strapped on cap space, especially, Saints fans would love it because you're getting a rookie quarterback where, yes, you're still going to have to deal with the cap struggles this year. You're probably still going to have some cap struggles next year, But then you will have 3 years left on that rookie deal where you can spend money galore to build around Cam Ward.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is you probably also don't have a first rounder next year.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, like if you're going after the number 2 pick, it's not like you're just going to give up Carr and get the 2 pick.
Oh, no, exactly.
So you're going to have to give up your 1 and maybe a 2, maybe a couple of 1s, tough to say. So then you got to look at it from that end also. If you're a Saints fan, you're like, okay, well, we get off of this, we give up our next 2 1s and probably a 4 that has an escalator or something, right? Like I'm sure there's, and like a 6-7 swap or, there's some goofiness that would happen. But I think there's a path that it could happen. I don't think it does, but it would be interesting.
Yeah.
And then weirdly, that makes the Rodgers situation even worse for Rodgers.
That literally would mean he's going to the Giants if he plays at all at that point.
No, it means he doesn't play at all because Russ would be going to the Giants.
Or Cleveland yet, depending on because Russ went to visit with Cleveland and the Giants. So
yeah. I mean, I agree. Like the Browns would be a better fit for Russ.
Yeah, definitely.
The Giants are just bad. Like if I'm a vet, I don't want to go to the Giants. They are not a quarterback away. They're not 40 players away.
Yeah.
So are we going to see the Browns be the 1st and 4th next year? I mean, man, it's entirely possible.
No, they won't be. And the only reason why I say that is they have to figure out how to get rid of that Deshaun Watson contract. They have to.
So they can't get rid of it. It's guaranteed, right? Yeah. They did restructure and extend it, right? Which basically means they're breaking it over 3 years now. And, or maybe it's 4. In any case, Deshaun's not going to play at all this year anyway. He's, because of when he got hurt. Like he's not even going to be available to play. I don't think they even want him to play. So at this point, they restructure, extend, basically to break that cap hit down over more years. Mm-hmm. And I think they're moving on. I mean, because all he's done is get hurt and not play very well. I mean, since he got there, he's had 3 good games.
Mm-hmm. Did you see that he got engaged recently?
I did.
Did you see who he got engaged to?
I don't care. So no, I never look at people's like personal lives.
No, it's not a celebrity. He got engaged to a masseuse.
Well, yeah. Probably. It's probably the one that was going to put him in jail. It's Stockholm syndrome. She's like, look, you're either in prison in your own house or you're in actual prison.
And either way, I'm getting money from you. So take your pick how you want to handle the situation.
Pretty much. Yeah, no, I mean, like that's not a real shock. But when it comes to people's off the field stuff, I just don't care. Right. When they're like, oh, this person's dating whoever. It's like, yeah, that's cool. Like,
I never care about the off the field stuff unless it carries over to affect my team.
Yeah, no, like if you're out there getting in car wrecks and DUIs and stuff like that, like I pay attention to those things because that's a problem. Mm-hmm. But like if you're dating a Kardashian or whatever, like, I don't care. Like,
well, unless your production from it declines, then I care because you look at who was that was dating the one Kardashian? Was it
It's every Kardashian. What are you talking about? I threw that out there because they ruin people's lives.
Well, like Lamar Odom. That's what I was thinking of. Lamar Odom. Like Lamar Odom was never going to be a Hall of Famer, but he was a very good like role player most of his career.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cocaine probably had more to do with it than the Kardashians, but
even Chris Humphries though. Like Chris Humphries when he was with the Nets, he was drafted 10th or 11th overall. He was always like.
I mean, you looked at Romo when he was dating Jessica Simpson. Like his game fell off also. So I mean, yes, obviously there's an element to it, but at the same time, until it affects on the field stuff, I don't listen to it at all. I mean, the only reason the Taylor Swift thing got any play is because they force fed you so much
Oh God,
that you had to talk about it, because every time the camera panned, it was to her. Although I did see a lot less of that this season.
It's because I don't know if she was at as many games.
She was.
Oh, was she?
She was. No, she was at him. Like, they would pan to her, they just wouldn't do it as much. I think they realized after the first season, they probably got about as much traction out of it as they could get, right? Like the first year, she added an estimated 335 million to the NFL, just being at the games, which is amazing. And if I'm the league, I'm 100% playing that up as much as possible. 335 million is no joke. So I get it. I would have been to every network, be like, yeah, you get her on the screen, got to do it. This year, there was less of it, but you already did the initial bring people in. So I don't think they needed to do it as much. So, I mean, the NFL's marketing department is amazing. Like they are magicians when it comes to that stuff. So I can't hate on that. Rogers can go hang out with Kardashian. I mean, he basically is a Kardashian. Let's be honest. Like, he is that kind of noise around the league.
Yeah.
Speaking of your Steelers, they added a 2-time Super Bowl champ safety to the mix, coming from the Browns. He the first championship that he won with KC. He was having a pretty good rookie season, tears his ACL towards the end of the year. The next year had a decent season, a little bit better than his rookie one, played a role in beating the Eagles that year. Goes to the Browns, signed a 3-year, $21 million deal, had some calf injuries while he was there, only started 11 games. But Juan Thornhill is headed to the Steelers on a 1-year deal. I actually like that pickup. The only thing about calf injuries is you got to worry a little bit that if there's going to be an Achilles problem, because that can be, stemmed from that. But at the same time, getting a solid safety, I think he's 29, behind a really good defense already. Right. Mm-hmm. So what will probably help resurrect his career a little bit is they do get pressure on quarterbacks, which favors corners and safeties. And, because that makes the ball come out faster, can be off target. All of a sudden your secondary gets to be much more opportunistic. So as long as these calf injuries were maybe for, more of a reason of conditioning, because that defense was always on the field, as opposed to maybe he has a potential Achilles issue coming. Even if he does, though, it's a 1-year deal. You're not tied to him. But I like this addition to the Steelers defense.
Speaking of some additions, I like some of the, not that you care as much about the UFL as I do, but I like some of the additions that have just signed with some UFL teams, because they're actually players that have had success in the NFL, and you're very familiar with one of them.
Well, I mean, and the UFL season's 8 days out. So, I mean,
so Lynn Bowden Jr. is a wide receiver. He was a former Dolphins wide receiver. He signed with the DC Defenders.
Okay.
Monte Nicholson was a safety with the Commanders. He signed with the Defenders.
Okay.
And Cornell Powell was a wide receiver with the Chiefs. He signed with the Defenders.
Oh, Defenders doing some work.
Oh, and the Defenders got the one you're very familiar with. Offensive tackle, DJ Fluker.
Really?
He
really? Fluker's going to the NFL. Okay. Or, I mean, the UFL.
He signed with the DC Defenders this morning. Good old DJ Fluker.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because his career just took kind of a weird path, right? Like, nice guy. Right. Played well in Seattle. He ends up going to Baltimore. I think he only played like half a season. Ended up being kind of overweight, bounced around a little bit. A buddy of mine was actually his trainer that get him back in game shape. And, basically kind of been out of football the last couple of years. Like he's hit rosters. I think he was with the Raiders for a minute, but largely hasn't played. So, I'm happy for him. Like that's awesome that he's going to land on a team. Maybe he can work his way back to the league. I thought Seattle should have brought him back a couple of times with as bad as our offensive line has been. I mean, bringing another tackle back would not have been terrible.
Yeah, I got to go back through this. There's a lot of big name players that signed with the UFL this week that have had like success in the NFL, even if it was like short stints. Like the UFL has, I think, a lot better players this year than what they had last year.
Well, it helps that this iteration of the UFL doesn't have the NFL trying to kill it.
Yeah, like here we go. So you have DeAndre Baker.
Okay.
He was a safety.
Mm-hmm.
Denzel Mims, a former number one pick of the Cleveland Browns, is now one of the Battlehawks.
Okay.
Andy Isabella, which he was always known as one of the better punt returners in the NFL with the Bengals. He's going to the Battlehawks. Mr. Nerdy Kicker, Rodrigo Blankenship.
Hey,
attempting a comeback with the Battlehawks.
I'm not mad at that.
No, I'm not either. I loved Rodrigo Blankenship. I loved him.
Yeah, Hot Rod, let's go.
Greedy Williams, who was a safety on the Cleveland Browns for 5 or 6 years, went to the Brahmas. Minnesota Vikings former third-round pick Cam Dantzler is going to the Memphis Showboats. Max Duggan, who was with TCU, signed with the Battlehawks. Lynn Bowden Jr., who I believe is a wide receiver, signed with the DC Defenders. Like, there's been a lot of good players that were in the league for 5-6 years that maybe for whatever reason couldn't latch on with another team that are getting that opportunity again. So I think the quality of play this year is going to be way better than the quality of play that they saw last year.
And that'd be great. And obviously that helps the UFL in a lot of ways. They want to expand next year. That's been their plan. I know that their new CBA might be a little bit of an issue. I haven't read into what their new CBA is supposed to be, but their Players Association did try and do something with their contract agreements. So, we'll see what that looks like when it becomes fully public. But I don't know. Will be interesting to see how that works out. That being said, that gets us to the top of the hour. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're watching on Roku TV, stay tuned for the next hour. Otherwise, we got to get out of here. Next hour is about to start. Take it easy, everybody.
Have a good one.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports.